Hi, my name is Amy, for those of you that don't know me, and I just wanted to get on here and share my story of anorexia with you. I battled anorexia, for those of you that don't know, for many, many years. It probably started, I would say, in my early 20s. I'm now 49 years old. I have been completely recovered, if there is such a thing as completely recovered, for probably about the last 12 years now, I would say at least. Um, it started, I was a hairdresser and I worked in a salon. And of course, in that type of scenario, you've got, a lot of women that are really self conscious and into the way they look. And I was always very self conscious. I never liked the way I looked. I never liked my weight. I was always actually underweight. I was never overweight. I was always very tall, or not tall, but I was always very lean. Growing up, I took a lot after my dad, who's always been real tall and real thin, and that was always me. But for some strange reason, I always felt that my thighs were too big or my stomach was too puffy and just was never ever happy. And one day, one of the ladies I worked with in the salon told me that I had made a remark, about, my thighs being too big or something. And she said, yeah, if you lost a little bit of weight in your thighs, you'd look really good because you're already so thin. Well, that triggered something in my head. It was like a light bulb went off. Oh my gosh, my thighs are big. I've got to lose weight. And it just started a downward spiral from there. I just really got to the point where I didn't eat anything. I was scared to death of carbohydrates. I was scared of eating anything at all. I basically just started withering away. My family, my daughter, I had a daughter at the time. My daughter she was pretty young. She was probably maybe 7 years old when she really started noticing what was going on. My parents, just everybody around me, my friends, they just saw me slowly withering away. I'm 5'4.5", and I was just literally withering to nothing. It got so bad at one point that I would get up and I would just do a ton of cardio. I never lifted weights or anything, I just did cardio. A couple times a day, I did cardio. Hardly ever ate anything. My calories were so low. My weight was dropping like crazy. This went on for several years. And then finally, one day, I was at a bookstore and I was studying because I had gone through a divorce, a messy divorce. And I went back to school to be a dietitian. Of course, I was very preoccupied with food. Why not become a dietitian? I had a vested interest in nutrition and everything. So I thought maybe it could help me. Maybe I could specialize in, people with eating disorders. So anyway, I was at this bookstore studying for a test for one of my classes, and I got up to go get an iced tea to drink, and I hit the floor. All I remember is I got nauseous, I got dizzy, and I hit the floor. Obviously, I passed out and don't really remember much of it other than when I woke up, the whole left side of me was numb. Everything was bruised. I was black and blue all over. And at this point, I was probably maybe 70 pounds. I was pretty low, really low. Like kids' clothes were falling off of me. I remember having to shop in the kids department at stores, and even like little girls size 12 and 14 were big on me. And I would have to pin them. I remember taking safety pins and rubber bands and rubber banding the waistband and safety pinning them to make them smaller, and then tying my shirt because my shirts were too big so that you couldn't see where the rubber band and safety pin was. And anyway, I had a girlfriend that was a nurse, and at the time, I was single. I didn't have any health insurance. Uh, you know, I called my girlfriend, and she immediately came and got me. I literally blanked out for quite a while as to my name, where I was at, everything. And when I finally came to enough to realize what was going on, I called her, and she came, and she worked in a doctor's office and was very good friends with one of the doctors. So her and him came to my apartment, and he tried very hard to talk me into going to the the hospital, I wouldn't go. He really felt that I had a stroke based on what I had told him about the left side going numb, all the bruising on the left side, the nausea, just the disorientation, and of course the very low weight and not eating. And so I still went on for a couple years after that, just basically just surviving. I don't know how I survived, but somehow I survived. And was going to school. And while I was going to school, I remember, in the nutrition classes, starting to learn about eating disorders and stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to slowly start adding just a little bit of food and just try to maybe put on 5 pounds. And so I did that. I was just slowly adding food and slowly gained just a few pounds, which on someone that thin, it was hard to tell anything because I was so little anyway. But, and I kept doing that until I was probably maybe around 90 pounds. And that's when I think it was shortly around that time or shortly thereafter, I met my husband, who I'm married to now. We've been married now for a little over 18 years. And it kind of it helped a lot because, I had something to keep my mind occupied. I was spending time with him. I didn't want him to see me that way, so I definitely didn't want to lose weight and, him wonder, what in the world did I get myself into? So I kept trying to put on a little bit of weight here and there, and it went on like that for a couple of years, and I think I finally got myself up to like around 100 pounds, right around in there, and then that was it. I just panicked again. It was like, no, I can't gain any more weight. Meantime, my hormones were definitely taking a toll. I was losing hair. My hair was falling out horribly. Like I would take a shower and there'd be hair everywhere. And it was a nightmare. It was awful because I just would cry every day and say, I'm going to go bald. It was awful. And my husband tried really hard to talk me into going inpatient. And I didn't want any parts of that at first. I was like, there's no way. I don't have an eating disorder anymore. I'm eating now. I'm close to 100 pounds. I was like 70-something pounds before. I'm doing good. I still didn't see it. I didn't see that I still had a problem. That, I was still trying to over-exercise. I was still trying to undereat. That I was still weighing myself 10, 15 times a day. And if that scale went up an ounce, I quit drinking, I quit eating. I didn't see a problem with that because I weighed more than I did, a couple years ago. So in my eyes, I was doing good. I was recovering. I was getting myself through it. It just kept getting worse. When you're that hungry and you're that starved, everything gets to you. You cry at the drop of a hat. You are very emotional. And that's how I was all the time. And it was taking a toll on my marriage and my family. My daughter was seeing me like this. She's now, by this time, she's in college and she's still seeing her mom suffering with an eating disorder. I had wasted so many years of my life, with this eating disorder. The first few years that my husband and I, John, were married, he won several trips through his work. He's a realtor and he was very good in sales and won several trips, one to Whistler, and we didn't go because I was afraid of being out of my comfort zone. What would I eat? How would I exercise? What if I gained a couple pounds on that trip? So anorexia was taking so much out of my life, so much. And I knew that if I didn't get a hold on it, I was pushing everyone in my life away. My family, my grandma. Before she passed, she was so worried about me. She used to sit every day and say the rosary and just pray and say, please don't let my Amy die. Please don't let my Amy die. And that still rings true in my head. I can still hear her words. I can still hear her calling me on the phone saying, did you eat today? I'm worried about you. I don't want you to die. And finally, my husband talked me into letting him make some calls and see if we could get inpatient covered under insurance. And I had tried outpatient therapy. I had tried seeing dietitians. I had tried all different types of therapy. Nothing worked. I mean, I just was so stuck in my ways, nothing worked. And I knew in my heart if I didn't go inpatient that I wasn't going to live long. I mean, I knew it. I knew what I was doing to my body. And, I didn't feel right. Just walking up the stairs took everything out of me. I had bruises on my body from just sleeping at night or from sitting. I had black and blue marks on my butt. The bottoms of my feet were always bruised from walking. Every bone in my body was pretty much sticking out. It was scary. So my husband finally got insurance to cover me to go to Renfrew in Coconut Creek, Florida. And that's been about 10, 11 years now, I think, at least. And I ended up going inpatient, and I was there for right around a month. And it was honestly, now that I look back, it was the best thing I ever did. It literally saved my life. My first couple days there were awful, and I was scared to death, but I managed to get through it. And, since I left there, I've learned the tools to cope and to make it through every day. A lot of what happens with a lot of us anorexics is we transition our control. With anorexia, you feel like you have to be in control of something. So if life is stressing, like, for instance, a time like this with everything going on with coronavirus, if this would have happened back then, this would have been a perfect excuse for me to fall back into anorexia, because what can I control? I can't get to the gym. It's closed. Some people are having a hard time finding food that they're used to eating, so they're having to eat different things. So to me back then, that would have been a control thing. Well, I can't control what I'm eating. I can't control getting to the gym, so I can control what I put in my body. Whereas now I know how to work through those emotions, work through those feelings, and realize I do have control over things. That's very unrealistic to think like that. Now I know that, but back then I didn't. I basically transitioned a lot of my eating disorder things into fitness. Fitness, for me, saved my life. Is it for everyone? No. Does it help everyone? No. You've got to be a strong person, and there is a fine line between fitness helping you and fitness making it worse. You have to know where that line is and be able to draw that line. Fitness saved my life in the aspect of I got away from the cardio and got into lifting weights. I no longer watched the number on the scale and wanted it to go down. Instead, I started watching the number on the weights and wanted them to go up. I wanted to get stronger. And I found over the last 10 years, the stronger I got physically, the stronger I became mentally. And it's hard to explain, but I'm just being totally raw with you here. None of this was pre-recorded, pre-rehearsed, or anything. I'm just talking as it comes and telling you my story as if I was sitting here telling it to a friend sitting in my living room with me. For me, getting up every morning and going to the gym and trying to lift just 2 pounds heavier than I did the week before, or 5 pounds heavier than I did the week before, was a form of control that took the place of controlling what I was eating. And then once I learned that in order to get stronger, I had to feed my body more and put on some weight, it started to become easier. It was a process. It didn't happen overnight. I still remember hiring a coach because I decided I was always so self-conscious. I did not even like putting on a bathing suit and going to a private swimming pool, even if there was just 4 or 5 people there. I just felt like people were looking at me and saying, oh gosh, she looks pregnant, or her belly's big, or her belly's puffy, or gosh, look at her thighs. I always felt like people were saying something. And all of a sudden, it became a bucket list thing for me to compete. Why? Not because I wanted to put on a bikini and get up there in front of a bunch of people, because I wanted to give myself a goal. I wanted to prove that it could be done. I wanted to prove that you could come from anorexia and you could put on muscle naturally and healthy and get up on a stage. I wanted to prove that you could recover from anorexia and still live a fitness lifestyle without it being detrimental. Because when I left Renfrew, a lot of the counselors there advised against it. they said, for a lot of people it makes things worse. Well, I believe that can be true for a lot of people, but also a lot of people that I was hospitalized with were more into marathons and stuff like that, more into cardio type and endurance type exercising, whereas I transitioned more into weightlifting, where you have to eat a lot in order to build muscle. And I just got to the point where instead of looking at the nothing against them, all body types are beautiful. So don't think I'm saying that in any way, but that they're not. But for me, for the longest time, I always looked at the thinnest girls and thought that's what I wanted to look like. Is I wanted to be thinner than the thinnest girl I saw. So, like, say I saw a Victoria's Secret model that was really thin, I wanted to be thinner than her. And now I look more at, the weightlifters and people that are strong, and just I don't compare myself to them so much, but I think I want to be strong. I want that strong looking physique. I no longer want to look like that little thin weak girl that you could just push over. Now I want it to look strong and fit and healthy. And to me, being strong and fit and healthy means taking care of yourself from the inside out. And it's been a long, hard road, a very hard road. And it's cost me a lot of friendships. It's cost me a lot of relationships. It's cost me a lot of years of my life. If I can help one person or make a difference for one person, it makes it all worthwhile. Now I do mentor several girls that have eating disorders. I'm also now a coach. I'm a competitor. I do bodybuilding competitions now. I've competed in several. I now have several clients that I coach that compete in bodybuilding, as well as I also coach just some lifestyle clients as well. But the whole thing is it's my goal now to help as many people as I can, to get my story out there and to help people and to let you know you're not alone. There's so many people that have dealt with this, and you're not doomed just because you have an eating disorder. You can recover. It's not too late. You just have to be ready and willing to accept the help. And that's what took me so long, is I was in denial. I didn't want to accept the help. I didn't want the help. I wasn't ready for it. The thought of gaining weight to me was terrifying. Now the thought of me losing muscle is terrifying. Now we've got all this going on, and we can't get to gyms. So it would have been really easy to say, hey, I got to cut my food back. I'm not going to be able to get to the gym and lift as heavy. I can't eat as much. But no, now my mindset has shifted, and it's, what can I still do at home to maintain as much of my muscle as I've built over these years and not lose what I've worked so hard for? What can I do to maintain it? Not, how much food should I cut right now? That's not the logical way to think of it. And I know this is a hard time for so many people, and a lot of people are falling back into old ways, and I just want you to know you're not alone. This is all going to pass, and we're all going to come out stronger in the end because of this. You just have to stay strong, ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And I'm always here for anybody that needs anything. If you ever have a question or want to know how I did something, or any kind of questions, if you just want to vent to somebody, because I know for a fact, from personal experience, family members, anybody that has not been through this does not understand. They do not understand the mindset of an anorexic. They'll look at you and they look at you like you've got three eyes when you start talking to them about what you're feeling. Like, oh my gosh, you're so freaking skinny and you think you're going to blow up overnight, and that's a logical thought? Well, to us, it is a logical thought. We have those thoughts, and anorexia is a mental disorder. It is not something that we choose to have. Some people think it's self-induced. It's not self-induced. We do have a choice, and we can overcome it. You just have to be strong enough mentally to be able to do that. And sometimes it takes getting help to do it. And I'm sorry for blabbling for so long and just babbling on, but I just really wanted you guys to understand, that you're not alone and that there's always someone here to help and to listen. And I really hope that you guys got something out of this. And feel free to anytime reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm glad to help or to answer any questions you have. God bless you and have a happy Easter.